Hello PowerTeacher users, this is Marie Henderson. In this video we're going to look at a report called the Individual Student Report. And so if I click on Reports here at the left, I'm going to select Individual Student Report. This report is great for conferences because it gives so much information about an individual student that can help you and parents discuss the student's current progress in your class. And so here at the top, just like with all reports, it allows you to rename the report. So maybe this is your Q1 grade report. And so then further on down here, we can select which classes you're going to run this report for. I'm just going to leave it as the one class. And if you want it to be called something besides the code that's here in PowerSchool, you can select to use a custom class name, which you have to define on another screen here in PowerTeacher Pro. So I'm going to leave that unchecked for now. Next, you can include the student's full schedule, but again, I'm just going to print reports for a single class here. And then you can separate the report by section or by student if you're running a significantly larger report. So again, I'll leave that one alone. Further on down here, under sort options, you can select the layout, again, just by student or by student and section. Since I'm running a single section or a single hour from the gradebook, I'm just going to select by student. If you want it to sort by last name, you also have the option of doing the gradebook preference or first name or student number. Here under assignments, you get to decide how it's going to sort what it's including in the report. And so I have selected here by category, oldest first. And what I like about that is it gives a good picture of what's happening in the individual categories for the student. But you can also just select for the assignments to be listed from oldest or from newest simply by due date. Here under data, you want to select the areas to include. You want to make sure that you uncheck any boxes about standards-based grading, as we're not using those features for our middle school or high school students. And so I'm going to uncheck that box. And then if you've made comments either about the course grades or attendance, or you've made comments about assignments, you can include those in the report if you're so inclined. Again, don't include your standard scores as we don't have any of those. But then here under category totals, you may want to include that so parents can get a good idea of how students are doing in an individual category like homework or tests. And so here you can decide if you're going to show percentages and whether or not you're going to show assignments that have no data. And so I'm going to include those in case there's something that shows a red flag for a student there. And then you can include the student number if it's needed with the student name. Down here under date range, you just want to make sure that all of these coincide. And so if you're doing Q1, do Q1 for the range and do Q1 for your totals as well. Further on down, you get to decide if you're going to include assignments that have been flagged as missing or late or incomplete, etc. If you leave it as any assignment, it will go ahead and include every assignment, which is nice. And then you can decide whether or not to include specific scores, and then whether or not to include all of your categories. And finally here at the bottom, whether or not to include specific grades or percentages or a range of things. All right, so having selected all of these things on this first tab in our reports menu, we can switch over to the students tab and decide if we're going to run this for every student in our class or if we need to add or remove students by unchecking these boxes here at the right. Once we have the students we need selected, we'll come here to Format, and then you get to decide if your report is going to be landscape or portrait, and then what sort of file type. In this case, with the individual student report, PDF is your only option. I like to make a page break between students, whether I'm doing conferences virtually and I'm just going to show the page to the individual parent, or if I'm doing in-person conferences and can hand the parents the report, I need it to break between students so that parents just get their own students' information. If you're wanting to exclude the row shading because you're printing these reports and you want to save ink, you can check the box here. You can put a note at the top or bottom of the report, and you can include a signature line if needed. And so then once you've finished up those settings, you're going to click down here in the bottom right to run report. And then if you click to view reports, you can see that your grade 1 report is ready to view here, and it will download as a PDF, and you can save it wherever you need to and then print or use as needed for your conferences. As always, if you have questions or need further assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks and have a great day.